Jungle.
Entering the automobile industry in 1919, Citroen breaks new ground in Europe and the world with its innovations. Even though the founder of the company, Andrew Citroen, wants to become a global brand with models that are different from his competitors and have superior technology, he drives the company into the bankruptcy. The biggest shareholder of the company takes the head of the Citroen, the founder of the Michelin tires, and by the following opposite policy. He decided to make the company a worldwide brand with the simplest and cheapest car that can be produced. How the Citroen 2CV produced this vision did achieve this and became the people's car in France. Citroen's story begins. André Citroen, an engineer, established the Citroen gear company in Paris in 1912. Which produced helical gears, whose patent he bought. The company was producing which double helical gears, which are a new technology that works more efficiently and quietly. This symbol, which represents the double helical gear, is used as the logo of the brand. Citroen, who is also chairman of the Mors, which produce automobiles, increases the annual production capacity of the company from 112 cars to 1,200 units. When the First World War started in 1914, André Citroen joined the army as an engineering officer. While fighting off the front lines, he sees that the French army is short of ammunition. The 36-year-old industrialist who wants to solve the problem tells the French government that he can produce 20,000 Holwaster shells a day. After getting approval from the government, Citroen transforms his factory and starts production 6 weeks later. The factory, which uses the American mass production method, begins to produce 55,000 pallets per day in a short time. When the war ended in 1918, Andrew had a modern factory in his hand, but there was no market to sell produced shells. Andrew decides to move into the auto industry, a new competitive field. While working in the pre-war Mors company, he met the founder of Ford, Henry Ford, who became the increased efficiency in production and was instrumental in this decision. He will apply the production techniques and marketing strategy Ford used while producing the Model T and his new founded company. Andrew founded the Citroen Automobile Company in 1919 and started working to produce a more robust, more equipped and less costly car than its competitors. 4 months later, the first Citroen Type A rolls off the production line. The maximum speed of the light car with a 1.3-liter engine was 55 km per hour, with the electric starter share tire and headlights offered as standard. It was quite economical compared to its competitors in the market. The company, which managed to increase its production capacity rapidly, became capable of producing 100 cars per day and became Europe's first mass-produced car manufacturer. Within 2 years, 25,000 Type A units are sold. In the same year, Andrew Citroen negotiated briefly to sell the company to the American General Motors, but this agreement was not achieved. In 1921, Citroen begins to produce the Type B2, which is more powerful and faster than the Type A. The robust economical vehicle is in high demand in the market. The same year, the Type B2 Caddy, the faster and lighter sport version of B2, is launched, making it Europe's first mass-produced sports car. A year later, when the French government offered tax advantages to manufacturers for small and affordable cars, the the company decided to launch a new model for the small closed car market dominated by Renault and Peugeot. The result is a 550 kg Citroen 5CV with an 850cc 5 HP engine. The model, which is produced in 2-seater and 3-seater versions, make a big impact in the market with its robust, durable and economic. Attaching great importance to advising and marketing, Citroen takes the vehicle on a 5-month 17,000 km journey in Australia to prove the roughness and durability of the 5CV. In harsh conditions, there is no engine problem in the vehicle. In the 1921, Citroen begins to produce the military pickup version of the Type B2. The company sends 5 pickup trucks to the Sahara Desert. The vehicle becomes the first motor vehicle to cross the Sahara Desert. The vehicles produced by the company and their robustness and durability begin to attract the attention of the world. In the 1920s, the American Army buys the license of the track military vehicles produced by the company, and the Citroen's genius was to make 5CV appealing to female consumers, which was unusual at the time. The vehicle became the first car in Europe to appeal to women. André wanted the brand's name to stay in the minds of the consumer audience. At the opening of the Paris Motor Show in 1920, Citroën prints its name in the sky by plane. The most famous advertising method is to display Citroën name on the Eiffel Tower for 9 years, using 205,000 light bulbs. When he first founded the company, many people told André that it was impossible to produce 100 cars a day. But in 1924, the company begins to produce 300 vehicles a day. Until 1926, 83,000 Citroën 5CV and 90,000 Citroën Type B2 were sold. After success in production and marketing, the company surpassed Renault and Peugeot to become the leading manufacturer in France. In 1924, the company introduced the all-steel body Citroën Type 10 at the Paris Motor Show. While competitors used wooden body parts, the company produced Europe's first car with an all-steel body. This body shape is copied by many European manufacturers such as Fiat and British Morris. Competing with Renault Kizzy and Peugeot 127 in the market with a 10 horsepower engine, the car is more in demand with its economical price. The company, which wants to appeal to higher class as well as the economical vehicles, begins to produce Citroën AC6 in 1928. The model, which has a great influence on American designs, uses a 3.4 liters 45-liter horsepower engine. The maximum speed of vehicle was 105 km per hour. In the first year, 11,000 units of AC6 are sold. The market share of the company, which is the largest manufacturer in France, was 25% more than its closest competitor Renault in 1929. In the early 1930s, André Citroën, who wanted to take the company further, decided that the way to do this was to take risks by investing in new technologies. In 1932, with loans taken from investors and banks, change begins in Citroën. First of all, the factory is demolished and a 4 times larger factory is built in 6 months. André Citroën decided to develop a new model that can be produced for many years, different from its competitors equipped with new technologies. In 1934, the Citroen Traction Avant appears. According to the vehicle era, it had 3 revolutionary technological innovations in automobile production: chassis-less bodywork, independent suspension and front-wheel drive. At the time, most of manufacturers produced their vehicle from 2 parts, the chassis and the body. Citroën buys new body technology from the American company BOT and manufactures the model from a one-piece body. Although this technique, which makes the vehicle lighter, is an important innovation, consumers doubt its durability. To clear these doubts and to prove the body's solidity, Citroen conducts some kinds of crash tests on the vehicle. The vehicle is thrown off a cliff, rolled off a hill, and the bus with 20 people is placed on the top of the vehicle. And Citroen's biggest risk would be to use the front vehicle drive system, which was a very new and unknown technology at the time. While most manufacturers produced rear-wheel drive cars, only a few small manufacturers dared to use front-wheel drive. Despite its advantages, only the American luxury car manufacturer Ford was able to produce more than a few hundred front-wheel drive cars due to the many technical difficulties. Despite this, there were many technical problems with the L29 model produced. Despite all the difficulties, Citroen used this system and became the first company in the world to manufacture front-wheel drive mass-produced cars. In addition, the company bought the license of the torsion suspension used in sport cars at that time from German Ferdinand Porsche, who owned the automobile design office and used it in Traction Avant. The new model became the first passenger car in the world in which all these systems are used together. After the new model was introduced at the Paris Motor Show in 1934, Citroën, which borrowed money to build a new factory and invest in new technologies, was forced to put it into mass production as soon as possible. Mass production of the first sedan model with a 1.3-liter engine begins and 700 vehicles roll off the production line in the first 2 months. 1,500 vehicles were produced until the end of 1934. However, the technical problems experienced by American Ford begins to experience in Citroën. Going into the mass production without completely solving the problems in transmission joints and hydraulic brakes reduced the prestige of the vehicles in the market. Citroën, which invested heavily in the new factory and new technologies, declared bankruptcy in 1935 when the economic depression in the 1930s was at. The French government wants Michelin, the tire manufacturer that gives the most credit to the company, to take over Citroën. The founder of the company, Pierre Michelin, becomes the head of the Citroën. In the same year, André Citroën dies of stomach cancer at the age of 57. Pierre Michelin follows the opposite policy of the André Citroën and decides to bring to market the simplest and cheapest car possible. In 1937, the prototype Citroën 2CV appears. The 0.4-liter 9-horsepower vehicle had a maximum speed of 50 km per hour. The vehicle was so simple that its seats looked like a camp chair and the wiper had to be operated manually. The front-wheel drive car, with a fairly simple body and one headlight, required very little maintenance. Citroën begins mass production in 1939. On September 3, 252 series will be on the production line. The next day, Hitler invades Poland and France enters World War II. A year later, Germany invades France when the executive of Citroën, whose production stopped, refused to cooperate with the Nazi force. The factory was closed completely. Throughout the war, Citroën's engineers continued to develop the 2CVs in secret. After the war, the Citroën factory reopens. The developed 2CV prepared for the Paris Motor Show in 1948. Several improvements were made to the original design unchanged model. The body structure is slightly improved. The 2-cylinder water-cooled engine is replaced by a simpler and cheaper air-cooled engine. An American journalist who likened the car to a tiny can at the fair sarcastically criticized the car if it comes with a tiny opener. However, the model is highly appreciated by the French public and thousands of pre-orders are received at the fair. The model, which began mass production in 1949, is in great demand. French people are writing off in the 3 years waiting period, and then the waiting list is extended to 5 years. Due to the consumers who don't want to wait for the vehicle, the second hand of the vehicle starts to be sold at a higher price than the original price. Michelin realized the dream that and Citroen couldn't fulfill with the opposite policy. However, Michelin died in a car accident 2 years after starting the project and did not see this success. Citroen begins to produce 100 units per week in 1951. In the same year, the production of the pickup truck version of the 2CV begins. In 1952, more than 21,000 2CVs were off the production line. Citroen strengthens the model a little more in 1955. While the 125cc 12 and a 5-horse engine is used in the vehicle, the maximum speed increased to 8 km per hour. While the 12CV continues to be successful, the company wants to expand its market and decides to produce a more luxurious mid-range car. In 1955, the 4-door Citroen DC is introduced at the Paris Motor Show. The vehicle, with a stylish design, had a 1.9-liter 69 HP engine. The model, which was quite equipped for its time, had hydropneumatic suspension, power steering and modern brake disc. DS make an incredible impression at the show. 80,000 pre-orders are received over 10 days. It was a record and it would not be broken for 60 years. Within 3 years, 52,000 Citroen DC comes off the production line. In 1961, Citroen decides to produce an economical model that looked like a more luxurious with the infrastructure of the 2CV. Same year, Citroen Amie comes off the production line. Although the model with a 600cc 14 HP engine has a more modern body, consumers continue to prefer 2CV. While 80,000 Amie was sold in the 1962, the 13 years old 2CV sells 145,000 units. Citroen 2CV, which has shown great success in global market, is also started to be produced in countries such as Belgium, England, Chile, and Argentina. The vehicle's biggest competitor in the global market was the Volkswagen Beetle. The Beetles have a stronger engine, a more attractive design, and run a very successful advertising campaign, causing the 2CV to lag behind its rival. In 1967, Citroën started to produce a 4-door hatchback version of the 2CV to compete with the Renault, which dominated the economical hatchback market with the Renault 4 model. Citroën Dyna was very successful in the market and approximately 100,000 units were sold in the first year. The model, produced until 1983, sells 1.7 million units. Citroën 2CV's success in the market continues in the following years. In the 1980s, consumers turned more equipped, powerful and fast cars started to decrease the sales of the vehicle, which has not been made significant improvements for a long time. In 1990, the company decided to start production of the model altogether. Over the course of 42 years, more than 9 billion models have been sold in France and in the global market, becoming the public's car and playing a major role in Citroen's current position. Thank you very much to everyone who supports me on this journey. Please be subscribed to the channel if you like it. See you soon, another content.